Welcome to the GCN Tech Clinic, where we aim to answer your bike and tech related questions. As ever, you can submit your questions down below using the hashtag askgcntech. We'll do our best to answer as many of them as possible. So without further ado, our first question this week comes from Jennifer Cash, who says, I recently picked up some second-hand rims, they were unused, from someone having a clear out of cycling stuff after their partner had sadly passed away. The person didn't know anything about cycling stuff, only that these still had a price tag on them from being bought. They obviously needed rim tape and tyres and stuff, but how do I know which tyres to choose? Are they clincher or beaded or folding or what? So these tyres I've got here are folding clinchers. So the wheels, it sounds like you've got our clincher wheels. They have a rim on the side with a hooked wall, which the bead sits in. Now, folding clinchers and clinchers that don't fold all have a bead. It's the part of the tyre that then connects in to the side of the rim and holds it in place. Folding clinchers were a technological advancement on the original ones, which you can sort of still buy, although they're generally a bit cheaper, but they're often now found not on premium tyres, only on lower spec tyres, and they are increasingly less common. They will be sold and they will look like this, like a whole round tyre, and that's because the bead isn't designed to fold. So generally I would say go for a folding clincher. It's like, that's the way to go. To answer your question, should be good. And then, yeah, use inner tubes. If they're an older set of rims and they're unused, they might be tubeless, but you'll know if they're tubeless. It usually has some small print written on them, especially if they're new. But if they're not tubeless, do not set them up tubeless. Next question is from Alan Parker, who says, great show and advice. I've got a quite aggressive road bike setup that was done for me following a bike fit. I've just bought a gravel bike, but how should I set it up? Should I use my current bike fit or get another specific gravel bike fit done based on my road bike measurements? What should I do? Well, I think your road bike fit is a great place to start, particularly with your saddle and your saddle height and your crank length and things like that. I would definitely go along with those lines. Where it starts to differ is the front end of the bike. So I'd keep the saddle height and the saddle fore aft sort of the same, but you may find that on a gravel bike, you want a shorter stem or you want wider bars, and the front end probably a bit higher as well, just to keep you a bit more sort of upright than maybe an aggressive road bike setup. That said, everyone's different. Some people would set themselves up identically the same on both, but yeah, I would use your bike fit to set up the saddle and stuff and then go from there. And yeah, if you can afford it, then a gravel bike specific fit could be something well worth investing in, especially if the geometry of your gravel bike is significantly different from that of your road bike. Next question is from Jason Lowe, who says, hi, I'm fortunate to have found some new old stock speedplay zero aero pre-wahoo pedals for a very reasonable price. Great pedals. I've got a few sets of those, really love them. What he's asking is, do I need to replace the cleats down the line, or when I need to replace the cleats, are the new cleats compatible with the old cleats, and well, are the old pedals compatible with the new cleats? Yeah, they are. The cleat actually is the same design as it was before they were Wahoo, when they were just originally Speedplay. The difference is that they changed the colour of it to match the Wahoo branding. So they used to be yellow, now they're black or grey, depending on the float in the cleat. But yeah, the cleats are all completely cross-compatible. Next question is from Martin Anderson, who says, could you consider talking about oval chainrings, their pros, cons, different brands, sizes, and during on one of your tech shows? Yeah, so with oval chainrings, I've tried them out in the past, and there was originally this whole thing why they gained favour was because people thought that they were somehow magically giving you more power, and that's why I got suckered into using the old asymmetric chain rings that Wiggins and Thomas and Froome used, and Froome continues to use. But the reason why they were generating more power was because the power meters that they were using then, back in Team Sky, were SRM power meters that weren't properly calibrated or designed for oval chainrings. So they were over-reading with the oval chainring. Now, most modern-day power meters are actually also designed for oval chainrings. And as a result, you don't see any increase in power using them. They do slightly change how you engage your muscles when you're pedaling, although I find that people adapt to this regardless of the chain rings that they're using. I would always use round chain rings. I think the main downside with oval chain rings is the shifting quality between the rings is not as good as round chain rings, and there isn't an increase in power while using them. Some people do find them, they prefer them, and for a lot of people I suspect this is a psychological thing, but placebo effects and psychological things aren't to be sniffed at. They are legitimate gains that you can make. So if you really want to use oval chain rings and you feel that you do use them and you feel that you benefit from using them, then go absolutely right ahead. But notice that most people in the pro peloton don't use them now, and I would never use them. Round rings all the way. But like I said, some people do swear by them. Next question is from Dave Eastlick, who says, question about compact chain rings, another chain ring question. I always thought that compact chain rings meant just 2 chain rings instead of 3. But one of you recently said something that sounded like it's about the size of the chain rings. What does compact chain rings mean? Compact chain rings is referring to the size. It's a double chain set with the gear ratio 50-34. It's what's found on most bikes. Mid-compact, 52-36 gear ratio, and a standard chain set is regarded as being a 53-39. And that's traditionally what most racers and what most professional cyclists would have fitted on their road bikes. Although increasingly we are seeing even bigger chain rings fitted because of the mechanical efficiency that they can give from having the chain in a less tight angle. Next question is from Charles Taylor, who says, I have a vintage Trek road bike and it has Tiagra 3x9 speed on it. I found a new FSA Energy 2-piece hollow forged double chainring crankset with external bearings. It was free. Nice freebie. And it fits perfectly to his bike. How do I make the shifter shift 2 chain rings instead of 3? Thought I would just adjust the derailleur, but it didn't work. What you'll need there is a new left-hand shifter for the front mech. So you should be able to find one of these. Tiagra shifter that's designed for a compact chain set or a double chain set and not a triple. And that's because engineered within the shifter mechanics, it's engineered for 3 clicks across for the 3 chain rings, whereas the double one is engineered for 2 clicks across with a different cable pull for the 2 chain rings. Double and triple chain sets also often use a different front derailleur that's designed to move a different amount and in 3 stages as well. So you may need to change your front derailleur too. Next question is from Ryujin USA, or Ryujin USA. I've totally destroyed. I'm so sorry. It says, thanks for all the great advice, help, really appreciate it. I've used a normal road bike on a trainer a few times, and I know you're not supposed to, as the tyre melts, I think. But how much damage is it actually doing in something like a 30-minute session? Is my tyre taking big damage? Something short as that? Well, no, it depends. On rollers, it's not so bad, but on a turbo trainer, it really is quite bad. And the other disadvantages on turbo trainers in particular, using standard tyres is really noisy. What people tend to do is buy specific indoor tyres for rollers. Tax used to make them, and they were blue, and they were just bomb-proof. They'd last forever, and they would only be ridden indoors. They were quieter, and they just didn't wear down. So it means that you're saving your nice, posh, low rolling resistance, nice performance tyres for out on the road, and you're not wearing them away. Because you're right, they do wear away on the turbo. So yeah, there is wearing. You're not doing huge amounts of damage, but in an ideal world, get a dedicated turbo tyre. Kid Carbon with a question next, who says, we're always told that shoes with carbon soles are stiffer and better for power transfer, but how much better are they? Is it a measurable difference? Well, I'd say, not cycling, but, the Nike Vaporfly running shoes with the carbon bits in them, they have been shown to be faster. And as a result, they've been banned in some circles, and they have reduced marathon times. So there is, an element of sort of power transfer and things going on in shoes, and shoes are important. British Cycling used their sort of custom molded carbon shoes for individual riders in the Olympics, and Phil Burt, who was working with them at the time, has told me that they did measure on the ergs and on the trainers and on the power meters more power transfer, more efficient power transfer for those pursuit riders and sprinters when they used these special shoes. So there probably is something in it, but for the everyday rider, is that important for you? Well, that's something that only you can answer. But definitely with a carbon shoe, there's probably is some gain to be made over something that does flex a little bit. But it's very hard to measure the exact difference, but you probably could if you were so inclined and had the time and the resource to do it. Jan Kroken has a question saying, is it possible on any common bike computer to use Strava live segments and still be able to see your power and cadence? Well, I don't know on any bike computer, and on a lot of bike computers it's probably not possible, but on a Wahoo Element Bolt or a Wahoo Element Roam, who supply our computers, you can do it. You can simply just go onto your smartphone, where's my phone, and then there's the app that connects to your head unit, and on there you can configure the screens, and you can then select what data fields you want on the Strava live segment screen. So you could just put, power and cadence on there, and you're good to go. It's really useful. I also like having the time behind or the time ahead of the person that you're chasing on the segment. I think that's quite a fun thing to have as well. And the last question this week is from Ayman Olgado, who says, the local bike dude was telling me that I should put glue on my tubular tyres and wheels, but I argued that modern day taping of tubular tyres is enough. Who is correct? I'd say that the local bike dude is correct. I would always glue tubulars rather than tape them. The reason being is that if a tyre is properly glued to the rim, it should have lower rolling resistance than a taped tyre, which can sort of move a little bit. It's not as securely fitted. That said, it does depend on who's glued it and what glue you've used. So Vittoria Mastic would be what I'd say go for, and get someone, if you're not confident at gluing your tubs, get someone who's experienced in gluing tubs, as they will probably fit the tyre better and do a better job, which will also result in lower rolling resistance and no bumps in the tyre as you ride round. Right, that is unfortunately all we've got time for this week, so sorry if I've not got round to your question, but be persistent, keep them coming down below in the comments section under the hashtag askgcntech, and I'll do my best to answer them in the future. I'm going to go now. Cheers, bye!